Split Tube Media and the Cinesthesia podcast present a special daily October podcast. Help to the king.
Jason, I've never understood pursed lips. Are you making a purse with them? Are you holding a coin within them?
Is that maybe how you train to have pursed lips? Is you put coins in your mouth and have to hold them in? Like too many to really hold in without effort?
Right, so you have to purse them
really
people.
Close them up to keep the coins from coming out.
Got so many coins in my mouth, I can't keep my lips close to my teeth.
Well, if you...
Gotta shove a bunch of dimes in between my teeth.
If only someone would invent a purse, I could put my coins in something else.
If only someone would invent something we could call a purse. Since right now it all
we have is pursed lips.
What a sad world to live in, Jason.
Well, you know, the 1950s were a tough time.
So says my grandpa.
Pursed. Intransitive, to become wrinkled, to pucker.
How does it relate to my purse?
I think it's just parallel development.
I see.
The wrinkled shows up in 1597, and the thing to put money in shows up maybe in the 1400s.
Okay.
To pucker or contract, as if by tightening the strings of a purse. Ah, there we go.
Oh, it's like
because the purse would be the bag, and you cinch it, and it looks like little pursed lips, or maybe a little asshole, depending on how freaky you are.
Mm-hmm. Only medium.
Welcome to Hell to the King. We're doing the entire thing through pursed lips.
Tiny little pursed lips.
Yeah, we're gonna put lip into them with the dark. This is not.
My mouth is as small as I can get it.
This is.
The smallest the words can fit through.
I'm feeling uncomfortable and deeply unpleasant just listening to myself.
I can only use short words when I talk that way. It almost sounds like we're doing baby voices.
That's what is making me uncomfortable, is that it's almost a baby voice, but we're gonna talk on
it. It's almost, but it's an adult man baby voice.
Yeah, adult man baby voice. It kind of sounds like maybe I like a diaper pig in a some sort of sexual fantasy.
I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, you ruined it with your brain. I was just a talking purse.
That was the alternate title of the.
I was a coin bag.
Alternate title of the podcast. You ruined it with your brain.
It's our slug line.
We're back. It's night 20. 20 nights.
Hey, that's good, Jason. That's pretty good.
It's okay.
One more night, Jason, and we can legally drink.
Oh, I've been drinking this whole time.
Oh, what? Jason, don't tell anybody. They'll arrest us.
It's 20. It's 20. That's a big number. That's a milestone. We only have...
That's an allowable birthday vis-a-vis Pat Nozzle.
Yeah. We only have 11 days left, so a week and a half.
That's way too many.
I agree. 20
feels like it should be almost done.
I know. I got excited for
20
a second.
20 straight days of podcasting is too many straight days of podcasting. 11 more straight days of podcasting is a joke.
Yeah, that seems like an absurd... I got really excited about 20 because it seems like such a big number, and then as soon as I did the math, I got so demoralized. Got a full week and a half, and it's a long half. It's a 4-day half.
I hate us.
I hate me.
No. Hate me too. Don't keep it to yourself.
This was...
One of my friends texted me today and said that they've been listening to all of these and that it's been bringing them joy through their October.
Oh, that's good. It won't last.
If anyone else is feeling that, thank you. I'm glad anyone cares.
I would...
Because I feel like it's at the expense of our sanity, and I'm glad it's going... I'm glad we're burning out for a cause, you know?
I would believe that some of the episodes in the first 2 weeks could potentially bring someone joy.
I guess that's true. They haven't gotten as far as we have.
I feel like... Anyway, It doesn't matter. What movie did we watch today, Jim? Oh, we watched The Dark Half.
I watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, I was going to say that's a better choice, and it probably is because Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a wonderful film.
It's kind of the best. It's a lie, though. I didn't watch that. I watched The Dark Half.
Yeah.
The same movie as you, Jason.
The same movie as me. This was another George Romero movie.
I know. He sneaked in.
It snuck in. I didn't realize that there was another one.
Yeah, neither did I.
And this is, I think, I can't imagine another one hitting quite this level. This is like the high watermark for Stephen King direct metaphors for his own life. This is
just a movie about a man who can't write a book and is falling apart and is dealing with addiction. That's all it is.
Well, and even more than that, it's about a man with a pen name.
Yeah.
And the pen name writes sleazier, harsher, crime-based books than he does.
Yes.
King has turned Richard Bachman into a metaphor for his own dark side, which is intertwined with his writing and his alcoholism, but like all in a very direct way. Like I can't
in a super brutally direct.
I was like, I just didn't think it could get. Like, things have been so on the nose already, but this just is. Yeah. This is
on the noser. Yeah. This movie is Stephen King's nose. Not snorting anything. Right? We're clean now, or are we not clean yet?
We're not. So this is where the films get a little bit slippy from the books. The book was written before he was totally clean. I think, if I remember correctly, and I'm not looking it up right now, so it was sometime after, not too long after Cujo was published, that his family staged their first intervention, but then I think it took a while for him to get fully clean. But the movie, at this point, is being made post sobriety.
Right. It's in a world where he's clean, but the book is being written while he is in the battle, which is absolutely what the book is. That makes sense.
And the book is about a man who, from a young age, has been compelled to write.
Yeah.
And the writing has come from a dark place inside his own mind that sometimes feels like it's a completely different person who is, aggressive and self-destructive and other destructive, and also played by Timothy Hutton, who I thought. So I've been looking at this poster for 20 days as I go through and look at the different movies we're going to be doing, and I consistently, every single time I looked at the poster, thought it was a picture of Sam Neill, and so I thought Sam Neill starred in this movie.
Oh, that's amazing!
And it is a testament to Timothy Hutton that once I saw it was Timothy Hutton, I was not disappointed, because there's I don't think I could fill one hand with the number of people who, if you replaced Sam Neill with them, I'd be okay with it. But Timothy Hutton is among them.
He is. I also think this movie, Jason, might be the most he's ever acted in a movie.
That seems
both in terms of volume and amplitude. He is both main characters, and he is bouncing off the walls.
He's...
the dirty southern version of Timothy Hutton is the slimiest. I don't know. He's such a pure version of a thing. He is gothic terror, and he's so good.
Yeah.
This movie, Jason, I didn't expect anything from. Partially because I didn't know it was Romero, and partially just because I didn't know anything about it. But it's good.
Yeah,
it's good, Jason.
Yeah, it's another one. It's another one in the like unexpected little gems. It's because Romero has made some clunkers. He's not exclusively top notch, but this felt like good Romero right from the get. Yes. Like with all the birds flying around and the tonal,
so good.
Like. Oh man, yeah. There's so much that he was doing just in little choices that it made me really happy. One thing that I couldn't find enough information about to be able to really talk about But it did leave me wondering. I don't know if you've heard anything about this or read anything about this. I know that Romero himself. Well, I have been told that he suffered from alcoholism or struggled with drinking.
Okay.
I should hasten to add that I don't have any like hard references for that. So like
you may just slandering the man.
Slandering her. I don't think so. My understanding is that like Monkey Shines was a product of...
Was like Mooney Shines?
Yeah. So I don't know. His struggles are not as well documented as King's. And so I don't know when they were at their worst and when, if at all, he really got past them. But it would be interesting to find out what his relationship was to those things during the making of this movie, because it's something that addresses those things, as we said, so pointedly and so on the nose.
Yes.
And he's adapted King before. This is a place that he is comfortable. They're friends, and they're working through. The film is working through a theme that both of them can relate to in different ways.
Yes. Yeah. It's clearly saying something personal. There's nothing. It's in as much as it is very on the nose. It's also, it feels like there's heart. It's not. I feel like sometimes when something is so directly metaphorical, it could fall the way of like not to say anything bad about these, but like a Hallmark Channel movie or like a Lifetime original, where it's just sort of preaching something at you.
Yeah.
But this movie is, I mean, first, it's being written and directed by people who are good at their craft, right? But it's also, it clearly cares about what it is trying to say.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
It's, Jason, I'm starting to feel like, as much as all of Stephen King's books are just about whatever is immediately happening, I'm starting to feel like he has, I'm going to say 5 plots. Mm-hmm. That he uses to talk about what's happening with him, and that's it.
And we talked about this pretty early on. I feel like plot is not... Well, not that directly, but like plot is not where Stephen King shines.
Yeah, and it seems like he found, like 5 to 7 that resonate with him, and he just keeps looping back to them and reusing them in different ways.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of this book that's just misery, but Kathy Bates is also James Caan,
Yeah, exactly.
But which I feel like if you if someone went through and broke down all of these I feel like you could take 6 of the movies and say that all of the other movies are just rehashings or combinations of them, and I think if you did, it would sound like they're all terrible. But this one's not terrible. I enjoyed it a lot.
No, it really... There's something in here that works. I mean, that's something I think is probably just Romero.
Sure. Well, it's Romero, but it's also Timothy Hutton.
Sure.
It's also Michael Rooker. It's also I can't remember who plays Hutton's wife, but it's
she's somebody really great, and I always feel bad when we remember the women's names.
I know
less readily. But it's...
I blame the Hollywood system.
Yeah, I do too. Mostly. Amy Madigan.
Yes. Oh, who's amazing.
Yeah. She's great in so much stuff.
Michael Rooker as the sheriff in this movie is such a delight. I mean, I always like it when he pops up anywhere, but young Michael Rooker sneaking back into my life is always
young Michael Rooker is great. But Timothy Hutton, he's another one of these guys who has had a real solid career, but has never taken off in the way that,
right?
You feel like he probably should have.
Yeah. I mean, you watch this movie, and he's being dual roles, and he's just smoldering all over the place. And you're like, oh, if I was making a movie in 1994, 95, I'd cast that guy.
Yeah, I would want him.
He's handsome, and he's acting, and he can do 2 things at least.
Yeah. Yeah. It was actually, I was just the other day that new David Simon show was on. What's it called? The Deuce. Have you seen any of that?
I don't know.
It's a TV show about the beginnings of the porn industry, but the only reason it came to mind is because in it...
When you say beginnings, do you mean it's the 1600s? Or
no,
when did they begin? When does porn begin,
The American cinematic porn industry.
So, like, Muybridge?
What? No.
Like Edward Muybridge photographing naked people jumping? Is that the beginning of the cinematic porn industry?
No, the industry that is solely dedicated to the development of films for prurient interest. Muybridge at least had, like, a plausible deniability.
Sure.
No, it's like Times Square in the 70s and then
right.
LA and all that stuff. So, is the development of, like, actual when people were able to successfully stop getting arrested for showing pornography.
Got it.
And then the mob, I guess, took a... Anyway, I don't care...
Like the cinematic distribution channel.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you now.
Yeah, it's the fall of Times Square, the rise of the porn. Anyway, the only reason...
And it's also about pooping? Why is it called the Deuce?
Because that's what the neighborhood near... like that area was called, I guess, where there's like a lot of the... I haven't watched a ton of it because I don't like it. But a lot of it, there's a lot of it that has to do with
I'm
like
quizzing you.
Pimps and hookers that operate out of the Deuce. It's just, whatever. The only reason I bring it up is because in the show, they make the completely... baffling to me decision to have James Franco play two different people. He plays twin brothers, and I'm at the...
James Franco can barely play one character.
I was going to say, I'm at the point where I don't really want to watch James Franco do one person, let alone two.
No, yeah.
But part of the reason I stopped watching the show is because it was just so distracting that he was playing opposite of himself. I'm like, First of all, just give another actor some work. Like, they don't have to be identical twin brothers.
Yeah. Or, like, just cast Dave Franco.
But also, like, yeah, exactly. First of all, cast the better Franco brother. But also just, all I could think about in all of those scenes was how the scene was shot to, like, put him next to each other. And I couldn't pay any attention. Yeah. And I just bring it up because in this, Timothy Hutton is also playing his own twin brother against himself.
But well.
But first of all, he's doing it much better because he's a much better actor. But it also made me realize that even if Timothy Hutton was in something like The Deuce and doing it just as like two dudes, I would have somewhat of the same problem with it. When you have somebody playing against themselves, I personally need the distancing of a fantasy or a comedy framing device. Sure. Like, I can watch Michael...
Because you can't believe that it's two separate people.
No matter how good an actor you are. I understand how film works, and I also see how these shots are staged so that you can be in the same shot at the... Like, you can find the door frame that they're using to stitch the shots together. Like, like, I could watch Michael J. Fox be Marty McFly and his ancestor in Back to the Future Part 3, but only because it's a joke.
Exactly.
And in this, it's not a joke.
They're like nudging you with their elbow and doing a bit.
Exactly. And in this, it's not a joke, but it is a weirdness. It's a thing that's not supposed to be happening, and therefore I can give it license to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it just was putting me in mind again of just how stupid I think it was to put Franco in that show. But we've spent way more time talking about The Deuce than I ever intended to in life.
I'm sorry. I was prodding. But, yeah, I mean, Romero's too smart for that, right?
Yeah.
If it wouldn't have worked, he would have just cast another guy who looked like Timothy Hutton.
Yeah, totally.
Jason, they do such a good job making him two different versions of the same guy that I had to pause on each version of him to see if evil Timothy Hutton was wearing a wig, and I don't think he is. I think it's his hair. They just style it differently, but they do such a good job that I don't know. Yeah, they fooled me.
No, it's great. I mean, it really does. Everybody's bringing their game to this.
Yeah. Jason, also, just for the log, evil Timothy Hutton drives a cool car. This king loves cool cars.
It's true, he loves cool cars, but he always gives them to monsters.
Or makes them a monster. In Misery. Yeah.
James Gunn's car isn't that cool, is it?
It's almost the same car that he has in this. I don't remember. It's also like a black sports car.
No, that's true.
Which is why it struck me, because
that's true.
This movie is already so close to Misery that I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Almost the same car. For me, I'm sure for people who know a lot about cars, that's not at all the same. But
so the first thing that struck me about this film is nothing to do with its good qualities or what's interesting about it, but rather the main character's name is Thad. And yes. I wasn't, because I didn't know going in that this was Romero, I was not giving this film the attention that it ultimately deserved as I began to watch it. And so I was doing something else, and then I saw it's like, oh, Romero, this might be something. And then the tonal qualities of those opening scenes made me realize, like, oh, I need to actually sit down and watch this.
Yeah.
I can't be doing something else. But because I was doing something else, for those first few scenes, I was very confused because I thought everybody was calling the young boy Dad. And I was like, is his name Dad? Is he a father of, like he collapses by the school bus and people were like, Dad fell down. And I was like, what is happening in this? So that was where I started with this movie.
Sure.
But then I came back to it.
Good. I'm glad it caught you eventually.
I also just wanted to note that the first person who dies, the photographer, is 100% dressed like George Romero.
Oh, I didn't.
He's like wearing a George Romero vest and glasses, and has a George. And he's older than George Romero was when he made this movie, but he's
weird.
He's like done up like Romero.
He's future, yeah. That's really.
It's adorable. Like what Romero ended up looking like when he at the end of his life.
That photographer also super adorable. That whole sequence,
loved
where
it.
He's trying to make them take a photograph with a grave.
Yeah, it'll be great. This is a little much. Nah, the American way of death. Maybe you'll write the text. He also, that photographer also has one of my favorite baffling lines when they pull up to the house and they get out of the car. They're traveling up there with a journalist who's doing a piece on Timothy Hutton's character and this whole double literary life he's leaving.
Because let's just for the listeners, he has been secretly writing under a second name, and some crazy guy is gonna expose him if he doesn't give him a bunch of money or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I'll just expose myself. I'll expose myself, and then kill my fake guy, and then as soon as he does that, his fake guy becomes real and murders people and finds his way to his house and forces him to write his books.
Yeah, which I really have always liked.
And they both die in a swirl of birds. No, that's not true. The bad guy dies in a swirl of birds.
Yeah. It really put me in mind of what you were saying the other day when we did Sometimes They Come Back about ghost rules. And how you... like ghosts for you are this like force of will and force of ego that bring you back.
Yeah.
And it is something I really like about this is that this alternate personality of his is just sort of like willing itself back into existence.
Yes.
Like I really
it's a thing that he made
strong.
Up that somehow is just it's forcing itself to be real. And it's so good. And then sort of when they meet and they start working together, this other half, he starts. It's like the realer the dark half gets, the more the real guy falls apart.
Yeah,
physically and physiologically.
Yeah,
and it's really beautiful. It's at the end when they're both sort of locked into his attic den secret writing compartment in his house. Jason, this movie goes back and forth. They talk about Castle Rock a bunch, but I think they're not in it most of the time. I can't remember. I tried to piece it together, but I didn't totally land it. But it's part of the time they like have a house in Castle Rock and then one house that isn't, and they're either
the cabin
there or
is
not
in Castle Rock.
Okay, so when they're at that cabin in his secret writing room behind a library or whatever. And it's just the two of them in there, and they're so sweaty, and they're both kind of like molting, and it's just Timothy Hutton and a camera, and it's so beautiful. I don't know what I was trying to say when I started saying this, but it's so good.
It's just good, yeah.
It's just so, I don't know. It's great. And then the ending, Jason, it ends as suddenly and on a half step as Children of the Corn. This is the first one we've hit that is a mirror to that, because it's like they have a big fight and then birds explode their way into the house and rip the man apart and fly away, and then it just kind of stops. And you're like, oh, I guess, okay, we're done.
Yeah, take him back to hell.
It's delightful, but it feels like you're so used to that sort of one more beat at the end, and they're just like, nah, who cares?
Nope, this is just how it goes.
The baby's alive. The guy's fine. Whatever, who cares?
But yeah, I do like that, because I was pushing back at you a little bit about the ghost stuff and bringing in some more cosmic rules and stuff, which is what I find appealing in a lot of supernatural fiction. Is the more cosmic aspect to it, or the more unknown world and forces beyond
of course.
being. But I do have a space in my heart, and especially when it's this character as depicted by Timothy Hutton, of just a dark force willing itself into existence.
Oh man, right?
Because
someone made it up, and it's like, no, I'm going to be real now.
Well, so the weird thing about the film, though, is that he sort of makes it up and sort of doesn't, right? Because...
Oh, that's true. It's always been in him.
Yeah, there is a core reality to Stark, which is...
He ate his twin in the womb.
And that it then lived in his brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, he had a twin in the room that somehow went into him, and there's an eyeball in his brain, and... You know, the twin is, quote, dead, but that it's then able
still
to...
inside it. Right, they, like, can't extract it from him because he'll die.
Yeah.
Is that... Yeah.
So, but then that it's able to will itself into, like, a manifestation of an existence, like, starting to build its own body and taking... Like, I like that conceit.
The easy way to do that, Jason, would be like How to Get Ahead in Advertising, right? Where it grows out of him because it sort of lives in his brain, and it could generate as a boil and then turn into a whole man, right? But instead of that, it appears in like Alabama. It just becomes a man with a car in a motel somewhere drinking bourbon, which is so beautiful and weird.
Well, and that's where it gets to your idea of like that he made him up, right? Because he's imbued George Stark with all of these qualities, his alternate ego, and so when he manifests in the world, he has these things that he has imagined for him.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's almost like Monkey Bone or Cool World, both of which we should do episodes about someday, or we could do them both in one. They're both great. But in both of those, it's like someone creates a universe and then ends up dealing with that whole universe. But in this, it's just one guy.
Yeah.
It's like a microcosm version of that same kind of story, but darker.
Yeah,
The Cool World's pretty dark.
I'm pretty into that. Yeah, this is a solid little movie. It does feel like a small movie, which
it is very small. I mean, most of it is just 2 to 3 people. It's very tight.
Yeah, it's not too expansive. It's not trying to, there's not, I don't know, there's not a ton outside of this guy's experience of this. Yeah. Like there's a nod to those things, like with the birds, and there's a little bit of cosmic element to it, but I feel like it's been a while since we've had something
tight movie,
something tight and small that worked really well. Like Misery was tight and small, but it didn't.
Yes.
Whatever.
It doesn't land. Yeah. It feels like Stephen King's penchant is to just go, right? He's like, here's a whole town and 90 people, and it's going to go for 1,000 pages and whatever, and then whoever's adapting it is like, oh my god, how do I deal with this?
Yeah.
But this one is clearly, I mean, I assume the book also, it's just about Timothy Hutton.
Yeah, I don't know
Timothy Hutton.
Much about the book at all.
And, well, at least the movie version, it's just about this one guy and the issue that he's created for himself.
In the book, I do know, interestingly enough, the character is named Timothy Hutton.
Oh, really? Great. That makes a lot of sense.
And his alter ego is Timothy Dutton.
That tracks. That tracks with my understanding of Stephen King.
Yeah. It's like nobody will know that
he's a
secretly me.
Idiot. Yeah.
They had to talk him out of making the Richard Bachman books by Kevin Singh. No, it is also just, it's just a funny joke too, to like reimagine the whole is Stephen King Richard Bachman thing as something with stakes, as opposed to just like a funny thing that happened.
Just a lark that happened in the world for 2 years, and then
people were like, we know this.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was like, it's Stephen King again.
Yeah,
it's his other name.
I remember
it's a joke in a lot of these movies, right? There was one where they were like, Bachman High School or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes up,
or Bachman Mill, the mill in
yeah. It's just a funny.
But it's then funny to reimagine that as like something with teeth.
Yeah, that's like, ooh, he's gonna murder me.
Pretty good. There's also the funny thing that, like, in this, he's reimagined himself as the high class author. Versus the George
in
Stark
Misery,
that
where
is
he's
the
that's right,
totally pulpy. But it's at least what my dad told me was that when the Bachman books were first coming out, he remembered reading reviews where people were like, "This is how Stephen King would write if he was an actual writer."
Whoa, really?
It's like, this is what a Stephen King book would look if Stephen King could write.
Whoa,
and that was before they
crazy.
knew that it was King.
Right.
Yeah.
It is sort of, again, the same as Misery, though, Jason, because it's like the version that's pushing to exist is the version that writes romance novels in one and pulp in the other one, and in both times the positive, happy-go-lucky version of the handsome man that's playing Stephen King wants to write something greater, you know?
Yeah, and he has to be sort of disabused of his pretensions in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
By the monster.
But Jason, the sparrows are flying again.
The sparrows are flying. Well, no, this is a nice little visit to a nice little movie. I'm glad that we watched this. I really, there is apparently, I wanted us to do this for the podcast, but that, we got into the podcast and realized that we don't even have time to do the podcast, let alone anything additional.
Sure.
But there is apparently a text-based computer game based on this movie.
This? This feels like a very strange one to choose for a game.
Yes. And for
the exact reasons that we were just talking about it being a nice breath of fresh air, right? It's any of the games where where there's 45 people and 8,000 pages of content, that seems like a video game. This one is so contained.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted us to find it.
Do you just have to write a novel?
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. It was released. It was like a DOS-based game. Oh wait, I'm looking at it. I just looked it up now. It's not text-based. There's images.
Interesting.
Oh my god. There's a fucking beautiful 8-bit image of the eyeball and the brain.
So nice.
Maybe we'll have to post that on the website. So we should play this game at some point in time.
Okay.
Is all I'm
fully
saying.
on board for that. Yeah.
I wanted to do it for the podcast, but instead we should just do it for us. Oh, so the one thing I was going to say 4 hours ago, and probably the last thing I have to say about this movie, because there's not much, the good ones are harder to talk about. Like, there's not that much to pick apart, because you're just like, yeah, I liked it. Birds flew. There was an eyeball in his brain.
Performances were good. The bits were all nice.
Great. Amy Madigan's great. Michael Rooker is the best.
Yeah, super good. He might be, I don't know if this is true. I was going to say he might be my favorite of the small town sheriffs we've run across, but that's probably not true. Farnsworth might still be my fave.
Oh, Farnsworth by far.
But this is a very strong small town law enforcement.
Yes, agreed. And that is a runner that should be paid attention to.
Yeah. Because it's in 2/3 of these movies.
It's true. I did also have an inexplicable... Bird bath! I also had an inexplicable fondness for the deputy or the sheriff or whatever in It that just, like, runs down the hill and goes like, "What are you kids doing building a dam? Just so you know, another child died. Stay together." Yeah. And then he never shows up again.
Nope, just as one bit. Mad at some kids in the woods.
I'm into that. But the thing I was going to say is that the Castle Rock George Romero death photographer, he has one of my favorite bits that's also totally confusing. When they're arriving at the cabin, they're arriving with the journalist who's writing about
so
Timothy
they can take
Hutton's,
pictures of them on the deck and stuff.
Yeah. And he says... The guy calls out to the journalist as the journalist gets out of the car, "You're the New Yorker, I can tell from your hair." But the guy is wearing a cowboy hat that covers his whole entire head. So what, does he think that cowboy hat is his hair? And that's how people in New York wear their hair, shaped like a cowboy hat?
Was it meant to be sarcastic? Where he was like, I can tell you're from Texas because I can't see your hair?
No, but he is from New York.
But he is the New Yorker. Yeah.
He is it was completely confusing and
that is a super
amazing.
Weird bit. You should start yelling that at people, Jason.
"You're the New Yorker, I can tell from your hair."
Yeah.
But then the guy also replies that he's from Time, so maybe he thought he was the New Yorker magazine because of his hair. I don't know. Everything about it was confusing and wonderful.
Yeah. And
also there was that agent who just looks at the camera and goes, I like trash. I love trash.
Yes. Oh,
like,
my God.
Oh, Jim, you're in this movie.
Yeah, that was me. That's...
All right. Well, I think that's about enough time spent on the dark half.
That's fair. I don't have anything striking to say. It's good. It's worth watching.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's good.
It's like it's 2/3 of the way up the power list.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Maybe in the last episode we're going to do some real rankings. Maybe dig in, and we have to at least tally up which ones we've decided are good and which ones are bad.
And then we have to pay someone, Jason, to turn one character from each movie into a Street Fighter 2 style video game and use that to determine which one's the best.
Oh man, that would be nice. Maybe we should at least just score the episode with Street Fighter sound effects.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. All right, cool. This has been Held to the King.
Jason, this is day
20 days strong,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to remind everyone I feel like this is about the time that they're all going out to buy candy for Halloween, right? Or if you haven't yet, I just want to. It's an important reminder to everybody, Jason.
but it's the time that I'm going out to buy new bags of candy because
because you've already eaten the first one. Yeah, good. I think it's important to remind everybody that's getting Halloween candy for children to give out in 11 days that nougat is for assholes.
Like you should put it on one. Like, does it feel good?
Yeah, you should use it for massages and such.
It makes a good lube.
Yeah, I'm saying don't give it to children. They're not ready for it. You're encouraging aberrant behavior.
You use it as the coating for a tossed salad.
Yeah, gross. Real gross, Jason. This episode has started and ended with you grossing me out.
About assholes.
Held to the King is a special presentation of the Cinesthesia podcast, produced by Iguanadonald Studios, and distributed by Split Tooth Media. Music by Loyalty Free. Held to the King is an albatross flying above our heads at sea. There are storm clouds ahead. The sirens are calling. My pants. Help me get my pants off. I live in the sea now.
Cinesthesia.